Come and dream with me.
Hello and welcome to What Do You Want to Watch, the Explosion Network's premier media podcast. Every fortnight we get together to talk about movies, TV and online content and help you answer the question, why did I find so many films and TV shows this funny if woke culture killed them all? I'm your host, Ashley Hobley, and joining me this episode is Dylan Polite.
Damn right.
This episode we'll be talking about what's in our watch history, going over some film news, and then we'll be talking about the movie we ended up watching, Alien. But first, I guess we'll jump straight into it. The big release of the last 2 weeks. Joker. Biggest release of a movie in October ever. Me and Dylan have done a review discussion, which you can find at youtube.com/Explosion Network. I guess you can go to explosionnetwork.com to read my movie review. Gave it a 7.5. I think it's pretty solid, enjoyable film that, well, not enjoyable, but I think it is good, and that's mostly because of Joaquin Phoenix's performance in it, which pretty much carries the entire film, seeing he's in almost every single shot of the film, so that makes sense. Dylan, do you want to tell people why it's bad?
It's a film with no substance. There's my one sentence review. Joaquin Phoenix is really good, as you just said. He's 100% the reason to watch it. Robert De Niro is really good, but he's not. Everyone else
else is barely in it.
Barely in it. It's very much just the Joaquin Phoenix show, and he's a star for that. But Robert De Niro is good for what he's in it. Zazie Beetz is good for what's in it. Francis Conroy is good for what's in it. I wasn't a big fan of Brett Cullen as Thomas Wayne, to be honest, but whatever.
Much to do, so, again,
he didn't have much to do, but whatever. But overall, the performances all around are good. It's got a really good score. It's shot really well. But when it comes down to it, the reason I didn't like it is just because I was bored. I checked my watch several times while watching the damn movie because I was actually bored. And I think that just comes down to not being that well written. The Joker not being an interesting character. So as like an audience member, I'm not rooting for anyone. I'm not like I don't know what I'm supposed to grab onto. You know what I mean? So my brain's just like wasn't attached or interested in anything I was watching, really. So it was just getting turned off because I was like...
Do you think it was a good performance if you didn't end up being interested in Joaquin Phoenix's character?
I think it was a good 100% amazing performance of a character that just needed another actor and character in the movie to balance it out for us to like or be interested in or something like that. Have his mother be a way more interesting and viable character. Have Zazie Beetz be a lot more in the movie as a way more interesting and really likable character that, you know what I mean? Just someone to kind of balance it out. So then while you're really enjoying this amazing villainous performance, I guess, you have someone else to balance that out and to be like, oh, I'm rooting for this person. Because I'm not rooting for the Joker to win. And the script and director Todd Phillips never takes the movie in enough interesting directions that it could be super interesting, because I've watched plenty of movies that about villains. The two that sprung to my mind watching this the most were Taxi Driver, which is about a bad person, and that movie is really, really fucking fantastic and I love it. And that's because it's a deep dive into a certain type of character, and it does really well, but it also fills it with other characters. There's plenty of other characters in that movie for you to be like, this is a good character, that's a bad character, and they get a bit more time, and the world's way more interesting, and just the overall way that movie's presented and deep dives into its topic is done really, really well. And there's another movie that made me think about while watching this, solely because it's like you're watching someone do bad things, which is Falling Down. Have you ever seen this?
No, I haven't seen it, but I saw someone mention it when they were talking about Joker. So
yeah, so Falling Down's literally about a guy who just cracks and just goes on a rampage, basically. And that movie got really bad reviews when it came out. I just typed it in now. It's got a Metascore of 56, directed by Joel Schumacher. And I'm not trying to say that this movie is up there with Taxi Driver. I don't think it is. But even for a way sort of like you're not rooting for the bad guy, but you kind of want him to like it's hard. There's like way more nuance to the character and the way it presents it, and I can get attached more. although some of this, as I mentioned, I wanted to watch a couple weeks ago, a couple episodes ago, however it works out, may come down to, once again, I went into Falling Down not knowing who that character was, and when he snapped, I was like, oh shit, you know? And I was on board to see, like, can he turn this around? Like, what's going to happen? And then, no, he just kind of gets perceivably worse, and I'm on board for the roller coaster. And then by the end, I'm kind of like, oh, yeah, whatever. Similar sort of thing where it's like Breaking Bad. Absolutely love it. One of my favorite shows. Walter White is a bad character. Bad person. He's a great character. He's a bad person. You know, I don't root for him in that show. That's the thing. I watched Breaking Bad, and I'm not like, oh, I hope Walter White comes out on top of all this. No, by the end of that show, I wanted for him to die because he is a bad person and he's the villain. He's the villain of his own show. But once again, Breaking Bad literally dives into what makes him go from someone who starts out with good intentions to bad intentions, and it does it well. And obviously, it has more time because it's a TV show, but I had no preconceived notions going in. I went into Joker knowing that he's a villain. No, he's going to turn into a villain. The film really wants me to treat him like he's not a villain, but he is a villain. He always was going to be a villain. He always turned out to be a villain. I didn't know why I was supposed to care about anything in that movie, and I didn't care about anything in that movie.
Yeah. I would definitely recommend checking out our review discussion because we go into it principally deep and get hit. There's some good bits. It is, yeah, but Joker, it's interesting to see everything around Joker. I feel like, obviously, if you've been following the news, you've seen in America they've had police in theaters during screenings. They've had metal detectors checking people. Apparently, you couldn't buy solo tickets. You had to go with somebody. They weren't that kind of thing. So, do you think this film would incite violence? And do you think movies in general are capable of that? Because for me, I feel like, at least here we at the Explosion Network have been pretty against them saying video games don't have any negative effects on people, even though they can be quite violent. Why wouldn't movies be the same?
I don't think anything... That's the thing, and when we talked about Joker before, when I was originally talking about these original stories coming out like this, and I said, you know, I don't want anything to be censored, but at the same time, if someone wants to write a fucking article why they think something could incite violence, I'm like, just let them write their damn article. Video games, movies, TV shows, whatever, books, music, there is history to show that certain things over time and throughout history, certain properties or things have been kind of the pushing point for things. I do not think... I think most of these cases, it is because someone is literally looking for that kind of last push. And I don't think that's never the thing. You know, like Catcher in the Rye inspires fucking Chapman to kill John Lennon. You know what I mean? Like, are we going to ban old books? Is it the book's fault? No. You know, he was already a sick person, and that was kind of like his brain was searching for something or anything to kind of that he could twist in his mind to be like, this thing says yes. You know what I mean? Like, it's just latching onto that. And I feel like that's the same sort of case with anything, be it movies, videos, whatever. If ever in history, and I don't want it to happen, obviously, but if any time in history someone like went on a massacre and was like, Call of Duty made me do this, I'd be like, well, no. Like, maybe your brain thought like whatever else, but if someone went on a massacre because of Joker, I'd be like, no, there's nothing in Joker that incites violence straight away. My answer is just more nuanced, I think, than yes and no. If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's grays inside this. Do I think that games or movies and whatever else can make people want to do really bad things? My answer is no and yes. If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. It's maybe not. It depends on the person, obviously. I feel like there is one scene in particular that you could say, hey, that kind of glorifies killers and sociopaths and that kind of thing. But
yeah, I feel like if that's the thing. Like, if the Joker ever inspired someone to do an act of violence, it would be because they were already searching for something to give them the last push. Is what I'm saying. And the Joker could be that thing, or it could be other movies of similar type to Joker. It could be a comic book of similar type. It could be a video game of similar type. It could be a book of similar type. You know, that it could be music lyrics. You know, saying inciting violence. I think a lot of people that are like that, like, and want to do horrible, fucked up things, like go out and shoot a bunch of people. Their minds are just often looking for that last push, and that's what I'm saying. Like, could movies, games, or whatever be the last push for someone to go do some horrible shit? Yes. But in a sense, do I think that straight up films like Joker could turn someone who like me, who has no inclinations of doing acts of horrible violence, into something? No. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah. I know we're not in the news section, but I think it was interesting that for the Hollywood premiere for the Joker, Warner Brothers decided to disinvite all journalists to cover the red carpet and ask people questions, only having photographers at the event. This seems like they've got something to hide, or they just were desperate to control the narrative going to the film's release. Is that how you took this news story as well?
It was just, they didn't want journalists asking Todd Phillips any questions about the film and the violence and all this sort of stuff. But I think that's stupid. I think anyone who's going to make a movie, you know, you want to hold a Hollywood premiere, you answer journalist questions. That's kind of, it's the way the game's been written for hundreds of years now, you know, 100 years now, however long cinema's been around. It's kind of, we kind of know how these things go. Journalists are out there. And if you want to make a movie like this, if you want to make a movie like Joker and attempt to tackle some of the things that Joker does, and you don't want to then handle the questions and whatever else that may come from that, then don't make the movie in the first place. You know, like if you want to walk along the journalist line and answer every person with no comment, more power to you. But to kind of be like, nah, we won't let anyone ask any questions, which is so weird for a Hollywood premiere. Doesn't happen.
No.
And you know that they're doing it simply because they don't want Todd Phillips to ask questions. I don't think it's anything to do with Joaquin or anyone else. I think it's 100% just him. And I think you know it's 100% just him because he was being in like a bit of a shitty attitude all week with with other things he's been saying.
Yeah. So that's Joker. It's going to be talked about a lot. I think it's going to definitely be one of the most talked about films of the year, if not this decade. It's going to be, the debate's going to rage on because it's so divisive.
Yeah, you say that. I reckon it's going to be talked about for next month or whatever. And then I think because there's literally nothing to the movie, no one's going to give two shits about it after that point.
Okay.
This is what I'm saying. I think people are in like a hype bubble. You know, well, all the articles, it's inciting violence, cinemas, all this sort of stuff. You know, like we're in the bubble at the moment. But I think when it comes down to it, when we look back at this movie, especially, you know, 6 months from now, I honestly find it hard to believe anyone is still going to be talking about Joker because it's very empty film to me.
No, it's definitely going to keep going. I feel like, especially.
All right, Ash, you want to
argue? Yeah, just keep debating. No, so after watching Joker, I feel like I needed to get a palate cleanser. So I watched on Amazon Prime Instant Family. So we do trailer review for this back in the day. When we used to do those, we didn't think it looked very good. It was pretty much Mark Wahlberg and Rose Byrne are a married couple who adopt a bunch of foster kids. One of them played by Isabel.
I remember this.
Mona, also starring Margot Martindale, Tig Notaro, and Octavia Spencer. This is really nice. It's a nice, heartwarming family film about people coming together. There's some corny jokes. It's not exactly highbrow or anything. Mark Wahlberg asks, obviously, because this is like a bunch of Latino kids. He asks the foster care people how much of a concern is it, like the white savior thing, whether he should be coming in and helping raise these kids. Be like, hey, yeah, we'll just chuck these these Latino kids back in the system. You only want white people. And there's a lot of like fun small jokes like that. There is one person in their foster care group who wants to adopt a child, preferably if they're black and good at Division 1 sport. Pretty much wanting to be like Sandra Bullock in The Blind Side. It's a running joke the entire film, so that's very enjoyable. And then this film made me tear up. I mean, towards the end, with the emotion, it got emotional at some points. And there is a really, really odd cameo by who was it? Gene Cusack. I'm pretty sure it was. Joan Cusack. Right at the end, which felt like a bit off-putting, but other than that, there's super enjoyable. I really liked it. They kick like a pedophile in the penis several times. What more could you want?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what Joker should have done.
Yeah. Yeah. Dylan, you've watched the last episodes of Preacher, season 4, the final season. How did it wrap up?
This entire season of Preacher was an odd beast. It was so weird. The entire season was like, you could tell they're like, it's very funny because it's like I can kind of compare it to Game of Thrones where I'm like, they're like, we're at the finish line, we've got to get through a lot of shit, but at the same time, Preachers does it kind of better because of it just works more so because the show's already just batshit crazy, I guess. So and like it's less serious, so it's like whatever. But there were several key comic book scenes they hadn't touched yet, which they just kind of force into the plot and the episodes, just I guess to impress and keep comic book fans happy. Like, oh, here's this famous moment, remember this, whatever else. And I've read the entire Preacher run, and I was like, oh, yeah. So I was recognizing them. I'm like, oh, yeah, here's this. Like, I wonder how I see they fitted this part, or like, oh, they switched these characters, but they did this thing or whatever. But they've missed like one huge arc that was probably my favorite part of the comic, which was quite odd. And the end of the show is completely different to the end of the comic. And I wouldn't say for better or worse. It just kind of suits this show version and story they were working out. And doing so much differently. And episode 9, like the penultimate, I was like, I don't know what the fuck is going to happen. How are they going to wrap up this show? Or, I wasn't like sold on the direction they were heading with the finale. But I got to say, they can't do the thing where the first half of the final episode kind of just wraps up the overall major plot as it is. And then they do like the last half of the episode is kind of like an epilogue-y thing, like this character ends up in this position, just going around the characters just kind of showing you what happens to them. And I kind of really enjoyed the way they tapped off the characters. I thought they gave them, for the most part, happy endings that all sort of worked out and made sense in a lot of ways for them. And I probably enjoyed that aspect more so than the way they wrapped up the comic book, because the comic book was written by Gareth Evans, Ennis, which, as we kind of discussed with The Boys, he's not particularly good at like especially around this era when he was writing all these things, it's like not super like the comics were like just more for shock value sort of thing. So when they get some more of like the character endings here, they're a little bit sweeter in their in the way they finish up. But yeah, overall it was good. I think it was absolute nonsense, but it was good. I feel like 4 seasons done. I enjoyed my ride. I'm glad they didn't drag it out. And they just were like, fuck it, 4 seasons. Let's finish it up.
I wanted to talk briefly about 2 shows that I've been slow and catching up on over the last few months. First up is the sitcom Blackish, which follows a middle-class black family in California, starring Anthony Anderson and Tracy Ellis Ross, with occasional cameos from Lawrence Fishburne. I think it's a really good family sitcom. It's like super political and hits on race a lot of the time. They talk about how Anthony Anderson's character has like a hard on for talking about how race affects the family and how they have to fit into the world and that kind of thing. And constantly talking to his co-workers who are, the stereotypical middle class, superior white people, to put it bluntly. but yeah, I thought it was really good. And then in the 4th season, they like do this full-on dramatic turn, which was really powerful, I think, for the last few episodes of the season, where there was pretty much no jokes, and they're sort of like their marriage was struggling and that kind of thing, which I thought was really something I don't think I'd seen in a sitcom before. So props for that. 6th season is starting up now, and I think you can watch it on 7 Plus. I've been seeing it a bunch of different places, but yeah, Blackish. There's like 2 spin-offs to that show, so it's pretty. The
What?
creator Kenya Barris is like, he's doing that Shonda Rhimes thing. He's got Grownish, which is like a spin-off with one of the kids who goes off to college, and then they're doing Mixed Dish, which is the prequel series. So yeah.
God. I didn't know. I knew about Blackish. I'd seen clips go around online, but I didn't know they did.
Also, it's pretty much just an excuse to have a bunch of black actors come in and do guest star roles. They had like Wanda Sykes, they've had David Diggs, they've had Rashida Jones, they've had Raven Simone plays Dre's sister. Then they had like Tara Banks and that kind of stuff. So yeah, bunch of different black people just popping in. So spinning off that, I also caught up on Fresh Off the Boat, which is a Asian-led comedy set in the 1990s of kids, just a kid growing up with his family, starring Randall Park and Constance Wu. Again, just super nice, enjoyable family sitcom fun.
Joker really hit you hard, hey?
Yeah, it did. No, I'd seen most of this before. So I've been waiting for a week. We've had a bit less on the plate, so I have a bit of time to talk about it. But yeah, I found it really enjoyable. It's like, obviously it hit a bit closer to home because obviously they're Asian American, that kind of thing, and of Asian descent. And so certain aspects like I can recognize within that half of my family and that kind of thing. So that's enjoyable. It's also crazy, like sort of binge watching these shows with younger
hold on,
children.
I just pause. Did you just say representation is sometimes good?
No, I don't actually think I said that, but yeah, it's a true statement.
It was like it felt good to see. Okay, just okay. Continue. That's fine.
No, it's also weird watching these shows with obviously they start off with young kids, and then by the time I binge watch through 5 seasons, they're like freaking grown up. I think like the main kid in the show is like 6, 7, something like that. It's huge. So
funny how time flies. Kids grow up so fast these days.
They do. They grow up in like 3 weeks. Yeah, so that's that. Let's move into the mandatory Netflix segment of the show. Dylan, you watched In the Tall Grass, the new Stephen King adaptation. That came to Netflix. How was it? Have we hit Stephen King breaking point?
Nah, because they're all so different. It's like whatever. I haven't read this novella. This is basically Stephen King plus Joe Hill, his son. They wrote it together, so it's falls under the spectrum of batshit crazy Stephen King, I guess is the easiest way to describe it. Because there's like Stephen King that's just like kind of easier to understand, like horror stuff, and then there's like batshit crazy, the fuck is going on Stephen King stuff. And this falls into that. So basically, it's hard to explain without like. So at the start of the movie, you have these 2 characters, which are I'm trying to find the actor, Becky and Cal, who's played by Leslie D'Oliveira and then Avery Whitted. So they park. They're on like this road trip to go somewhere or whatever. They're brother sister, and she's pregnant. You don't know where her father is at this stage. Like whatever, he comes into it eventually. But they pull over at this road to take a break or whatever because she's feeling motion sickness or whatever because pregnancy and whatever. And they hear this kid calling out from in the tall grass, as the name says, like right where they pull over. So they go exploring, and long story short, once they enter the grass, they can never find their way out again. They end up bumping into the kid, and then they also bump into Patrick Wilson, who's the kid's father, and they are all wandering around, and they've been lost in there for a certain amount of time. And eventually, Harrison Gilbertson, who plays Travis, who is the father of said child, shows up about 20 minutes into the movie, I guess, he comes looking for what's going on, and he ends up involved in the tall grass getting lost in the grass thing. Now, there are some weird, crazy shit that's going on in the grass. You can try and understand the story. I would say by the end of the movie, I understood how the grass works. Like, if you want to kind of boil down somewhat to try and understand how it was keeping them away, like what's it doing? Like, how's the whole thing? Like, what's happening there? Because in that aspect, it's actually quite similar to the director, who's Vincino Natali. He's done this other movie called Cube.
Yep.
And the Cube, I would say, if you've seen that, then in the tall grass is like explanation for how stuff is working, I guess, is similar-ish, but not exactly the same, obviously. But like the overall, like, because obviously there's something controlling the grass or whatever's going on here, some crazy shit. When they get into that stuff, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck is going. Like, there's lots of, just imagery of stuff and, flashes and like here, this thing and whatever else is going on. But overall, it's shot really, really well. Looks quite good. It's acted well. Patrick Wilson in particular is quite good. Also worth of note, he sings in this movie. Turns out Patrick Wilson can sing like quite well, apparently. So there's your fun fact Friday. But overall, it was just, it's just a 6 out of 10 horror movie, and we get lots of them. And if you like horror movies, you watch your fair share of them just to fill the quota, some yearly quota of like horror movies, I guess. But yeah, I didn't think it was great. I didn't think it was bad. It was like you watched it, it's about an hour and a half. I was like, okay. And then you move on with your life. And that's the movie. And we've had plenty of Stephen King adaptations that fit that description. And this is another one. Glad it's on Netflix, That's the other thing. Glad it's a Netflix movie and not like paid to go out and watch this on the cinema. So, yeah.
It's got that going for it.
Yeah.
So I watched a Netflix film called In the Shadow of the Moon, a sci-fi thriller. Pretty much follows a Philadelphia police officer, Thomas Lockhart, who kind of gets on the case to a bunch of deaths that involve people bleeding from their eyes and ears suddenly. And the only noticeable connection between all of them, other than the bleeding in the eyes and ears and mouth and stuff, is like
that's subtle, that is,
Yeah, very subtle. 3 puncture wounds in the back of their neck. And then they're trying to find out who's doing all these killings. They corner this woman who they pretty sure is the one performing all these murders. And then she ends up dying at the end of her capture. And then 9 years later, it starts up again. It seems
dun, dun, dun.
dun dun dun. Yeah, so it's sort of a sci-fi. I feel like it's not too much of a spoiler to say that there's time travel involved. So it starts off in 1988 is when it starts off. That first section of the film I feel is like really good. It's rolling along really well. And then once they start doing these 9-year increments, sort of the film sort of slows down and sort of goes off the rails a little bit. Because nothing is as interesting as probably the first 2 times they do the rotation and that kind of thing. But it's an enjoyable film. I'd probably give it like a 6, something like that. Solid Netflix movie. So yeah, that's one worth checking out if you're into that kind of stuff. It's also got Michael C. Hall if that works for you. But yeah, In the Shadow of the Moon. Also, The Good Place is back. Go see The Good Place. It's kind of all you need to hear. It's 2 episodes in. 3rd episode should drop day of release. I'm loving it. I'm just it's I need more. Why can't it all just drop at the same time?
Well, they go so fast.
I know, yeah. They're only 20 something.
You start them and then they're over.
Yeah.
Although so the second episode, which I watched last night as of recording, there was one part in it that actually made me laugh out loud, quite loud, and at like 12 o'clock at night while everyone else is asleep. So, not saying that, you can do comedies in this woke culture, but
Yeah.
Just saying, I was laughing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good. Yes, so that's kind of it for what we've been watching. Let's move into some film news. And the big news that will please all Marvel fans, Spider-Man is back in the MCU after being out for like 4 or 5 weeks. I feel like... Yeah. Yeah, so
I didn't
Sony...
see it coming.
I know, shocking revelation. Just as shocking as the news he was out of the Marvel Universe, or that it was in the Marvel Universe to start off with. So it seems like the final agreement is that Marvel will get a 25% stake in profits going forward, and they will also be putting in 25% towards the budget of the films, which was something they weren't doing previously. Kevin Feige will be involved as a producer. He'll be part of the MCU. The next Homecoming film will be released July 16th, 2021, with Tom Holland and Amy Pascal also producing, with another future Marvel Studios movie starring Spider-Man in the future. I think anyone who was rational assumed they were going to come back to the table and like work something out.
I can't believe that I had to go through a fucking week or more of people being like, I'm crying, I'm so upset. Oh, the company, the corporate corporations have taken my favorite character to a different corporate corporation. What am I going to do? And then I have to fucking read this news, and literally no one tweets about it. Like, it kind of just like was there, and I swear all the people who spent so long complaining were just like, crickets. Like,
yeah,
they're not saying anything. Like,
where was your well, people are only speak up when they're angry, so they don't speak up when they're happy. What are you gonna do?
No, it was like I wake up, I see this on Twitter, and honestly, my reaction was just, oh, never, yeah, like not to even try and meme it, but my reaction was legit. Didn't see that coming. Oh, I'm so shocked by this news that they've worked out the deal. No, as I said, I was going to be more surprised if they didn't work this out, to be honest. That's when I would have been surprised. If a year from now we'd been like, wow, here's that Spider-Man movie coming out. Here's the plot for it. We're talking about a trailer, I don't know, something. And we're like, well, I can't believe this is a Sony only one. Then I would have been shocked. Like, Spider-Man's back. Yeah, who fucking... Good-o. Clap.
Yeah. Whoop.
Good-o.
Apparently, Tom Holland was a big factor in getting the two parties to come back together. Obviously, I think it's interesting that they are pushing for a 2021 release. It's only just
so fast,
just under 2 years away.
Mm.
And did Sony want Tom Holland to star in an Uncharted movie, which they haven't fully cast, or I don't know what the script looks like, and they just got another director involved. And then I'm not sure. I don't think they've confirmed that John Watts is coming back yet. I think his contract was up in the air. And then expecting it to come out in 2 years, on top of it being the now 4th Marvel movie coming out that year. I feel like that might have been a major factor in why Sony could have held off. They want to get these Spider-Man movies out fast. And maybe Marvel were not so keen initially to have so many Spider-Man movies in quick succession. That's the
problem with Sony, though. They don't get it. They oversaturate and overuse, and they're going to do this anyway. Watch until they fucking announce 16 animated Spider-Man movies now that Spider-Verse did well. They're like, oh, here comes 16 animated Spider movies in 1 year or some shit. Whereas Marvel, as much as they put out a lot, they've got to the stage now over their 10-year tenure as the leading fucking pop culture cinema thing, where they're like, yeah, we have so many characters that we can put out all these movies that, although are all Marvel movies, feel different enough, you know what I mean? But Sony, if they had it their way, I swear to God, they'd put out a fucking Spider-Man movie every year and then wonder why they don't make much money, because people are like, we just saw one. I literally just saw one, and here's another one. So I'd believe that. I believe they were trying to rush it out. But whatever.
Yeah. Also,
the thing with Tom Holland being like, oh, Tom Holland made it happen. Tom Holland didn't make it happen. happen. I guarantee that. If Tom Holland rang up Bob freaking Iger, right, and was like, "Hey, can you maybe he softened it a little bit, but Bob Iger or whoever wasn't going to go, oh fuck, like I never took into account how Tom would feel until just now, you know? I never considered."
I think maybe it was more the other way, where maybe Tom was like, "Hey, you want me in this Uncharted movie? Maybe you go back to the negotiating table."
If he played defense like that, that's fantastic and good on him. That'd be fantastic if I heard that. But the way the story is coming out, like, Tom Holland rang up old Bobby and was like, "Hey mate, can you fucking make the Spider-Man movies happen?" And Bobby
please,
was like,
please, Tom. Remember that time when that movie that you're in
actually
with
British.
doing
Bob's
the whole
like,
Peter
"You're
Parker
British?"
thing?
Oh, I'm actually a British person. If he got on the phone and was like, "Listen, that Uncharted movie, you still want me to star? You still want me to star in that shit? You fucking work out this Marvel deal, or else I'm leaving it. I'm leaving it." And then Bob was like, "Oh, that's cool. I'm down for that story. That's badass."
Well, let's just start that rumor here. That's what definitely happened.
Well, that's what I'm going to choose to believe from now on. I like that better to the just pippity pop, fucking make the bed, Bobby.
Can't we all just get along?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I guess it's going to be a big year in 2021. I think it'll get pushed. I would be shocked if they.
It'll get pushed a couple months. It won't get pushed out that year.
Yeah. Okay. I guess sort of in superhero news. Martin Scorsese has gotten himself into a bit of hot water. Nailed it. In an interview with Empire, he said that superhero movies aren't even really cinema. At least as he understands it, they're more like theme park rides. He said, "I don't see them. I tried, but that's not cinema. Honestly, the closest thing I can think of them, as well as made as they are, and with actors trying their best they can under the circumstances, is theme parks. It isn't the cinema of human beings trying to convey emotional, psychological experiences to another human being." And, internet went crazy, which is funny because I'm sure he didn't see any of it, because I doubt he's on social media.
My favorite. I just love how people got so shitty about this. It's been glorious. It's been amazing. I love it.
And
people so angry.
To a certain extent, he's kind of right. I mean,
to an extent, I agree and disagree with what he said.
I mean, they're still cinema, but they kind of are like theme park rides.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, you constantly go watch them over and over again. Well, a lot of people do. So
they just go in, get hyped. They're Hollywood fucking blockbuster movies. If you want to compare that to a cinema ride, sure, whatever. But then, they say Jaws created the blockbuster, and that's what they called the original blockbuster because of the amount of money it made and so on and so forth. But then if you compare Jaws to what we call blockbusters these days, which would be your Marvel movies, they're the big crowd drawers and they're what represent the big movies these days. It's like Jaws seems like a fucking art house film compared to Marvel blockbuster movies. But he's like, they got no substance to them. I agree to a point. I would say that a lot of the times they struggle to find substance or whatever, real character-driven stuff in a lot of their singular films. But at the same time, they have done some really good character stuff. Like, everyone was tearing up over fucking Tony Stark for a reason, They earned that over 10 years. They got there with Tony. You know what I mean? Like, if people felt no connection to the character, then why were so many people crying in cinemas all over, around the world over Tony Stark? So I disagree there, and I'm not a big Marvel super fan or anything like that. So I take this what I'm saying truthfully. I'm not fucking up anyone's ass here. And at the same time, it's like, well, Martin, just it's his opinion, but this is the thing. He's like, well, it's not cinema. I'm like, well, anything's cinema. It's in a fucking cinema. If it's a movie in a cinema, it's cinema.
But he's just releasing the movie The Irishman, which is a Netflix streaming movie.
Yeah, that's other funny. Well, it's going.
It is getting a cinema release, but
it is getting a cinema release. Yeah, limited release. Yeah, I hate when people make this whole argument. Remember one fuckhead on the internet once in a certain Facebook group that a lot of people would know, including you, Ash. A big Facebook group that we're both in. One dickhead in that once. Years ago, I was talking about movies. And I said something, this film or something. And he was like, that's not a film. I was like, what are you on about? Films are proper things like, let's use Martin Scorsese as an example. Films are like Taxi Driver and The Godfather and this. You're talking about a movie. And I was like, you're a fucking... I couldn't believe that someone was trying to tell me that I'm supposed to use the word film to represent like...
They're synonyms. They mean the same thing.
They mean the same thing, you fucking moron. Yeah, but the funniest thing about this is like, I don't give two shits what Martin Scorsese says because he's an old dude who's from a certain generation of movie making. He obviously has obviously he ain't gonna like the Marvel movies. Look where he came from. Look what the movies he makes. You know, look what movies he grew up watching. Marvel movies definitely ain't anything like what he's watched growing up or what he's liked watching over his career. Nothing like what he likes watching. Does that mean that we all have to suddenly agree with Martin Scorsese? No. I'm happy to sit there and go, all right, Martin, that's your opinion. Let's move on. But all of a sudden, everyone on the internet's like, well, you fucking said to think about the fucking Marvel movies. Fuck you. My favorite thing is that the people that get so upset about this shit, whenever there's stories like this, are the fuckheads who say the whole, you know, like, everyone should stop being so offended. Why is SGW so offended these days? Everyone gets so upset about anything. Well, Martin Scorsese said that the Marvel movies are bad. Yeah, who's offended now, you fucking dickhead?
Cool, thanks for that.
Oh, get over it.
You happy you got that off your chest?
Yeah. It's just like, who cares? People are getting so upset over nothing. Who cares? Martin Scorsese, he's in the right to shit on Marvel movies. IMO, you know? If anyone's allowed to shit on Marvel movies, it's old Scorsese. Good for him. He basically made a Marvel movie back in the day. He got all the famous Italian actors, or wannabe Italian actors, or all the famous gangster movie actors, and you put them in a movie. It's called The Irishman. It's coming out soon.
It's Scorsese
the Avengers of
universe,
fucking yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Interesting moment in the streaming wars. Disney is no longer accepting Netflix ads for any of its entertainment networks. Which is the latest in a string of news about the entertainment giants breaking off its relationships with the competitors as the launch of Disney Plus draws near. The Disney-owned ABC, Freeform, and FX are among the networks that will not run commercials from Netflix, according to a report from the Wall Street Journal. While Disney's statement was typical corporate speak, we've reevaluated our strategies to reflect the comprehensive business relationships we have with many of these companies. It was telling nonetheless. Disney believes that the Netflix will be in direct competition with Disney Plus. Really? What a shocker. And giving their competitor publicity simply isn't worth the ad revenue. Although Disney's ESPN will still be accepting Netflix advertising, Netflix does not have a major stake in sports programming. Is this the first blow in this streaming thing? I don't feel like it's going to have too much of an effect on Netflix because it's like Kleenex. You don't need to advertise for Kleenex. Everybody knows what Kleenex is. I guess this is another one of those stories where I'm like, much like the Spider-Man thing, where I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Kind of expected it, you know? Like, Disney is well within their right to no longer want to advertise competition on their stuff. And if I was them, I wouldn't either, you know? Like, if I was running Disney and I was suddenly starting Disney Plus, I'd be like, why the fuck are we advertising our competition? Get rid of it. Makes sense. It's also like, well, what difference does it make these days? Everyone knows Netflix exists. Yeah, but it's like a mind thing, you know, like a subtle, like if they're going to play Disney Plus ads on their channels and whatever else, and the next ad there's Netflix ad, then all of a sudden anyone watching at home may be like,
subtly, they're like, I just watched an ad for this Stranger Things season 4. I also just watched an ad for The Mandalorian season 2. But if you only see the ad for The Mandalorian season 2, then maybe after dinner that night, you suddenly want to watch The Mandalorian season 2. You know what I'm saying? Like, it may not take away traffic from Netflix because Netflix is already so big that everyone knows it exists. No one's really getting marketed towards Netflix in that direction. It's just more subtle, like little subtle things that could make a difference, is what I think.
Yeah. So sort of spinning off from that you might have noticed when we had the original Disney Plus announcements, some of the devices that were announced that Disney Plus would be on, all the mainstays. Notably missing was Amazon's Fire TV and any Amazon device in general. Apparently, Amazon has been holding off because they want to sell a significant percentage of ad space on other Disney apps. So not because there won't be any advertising inside the Disney Plus app. So Amazon typically barters for a portion of ad space from the companies that offer programming on Fire TV, though Disney has reportedly resisted those efforts. If talks fall through, Disney apps could disappear from Fire TV. The disappearance of films and television shows due to expired contracts has been a major pain point for many subscribers of various streaming services recently, and the abrupt removal of entire Disney channels from Fire TV would likely cause similar anger. Fire TV is the second most popular streaming box on the market, at least in America.
I was about to say, we don't have these, do we?
I have a Fire TV little dongle thing because it's like the easiest thing to stream on the big TV in the lounge room, which the smart TV stuff in that is terrible. So
we sell them?
Through Amazon.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, I've never seen these in like JB Hi-Fi or something like that. Because back before my we had a Chromecast in the house in one of the TVs before it got upgraded or whatever else. But I didn't know about these these Amazon things. But I mean, once again, I guess that makes sense. Like, I don't know if that's the smartest decision for them actually, but I understand what they're saying, I guess,
Yeah,
like, we are entering the walls.
Yeah, everybody just seems to be puffing their chest out and trying to hold their own ground at the moment. So
yeah, well, that's what everyone's going to do at the start, and then people give way and fall and lose and change thoughts. You know what I mean? So I understand everyone's going to puff their chests out and act all tough and whatever else at the start, and then eventually people are going to have to give way one way or another, or they'll start losing badly.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting to find out because I got my new TV. I'm like, I'm going to get the app. Pretty sure I get the app. Like they said, all TVs, right? It was like a whole. Like most smart TVs just get the Disney app, right? I don't have to fucking.
No, I feel like
PlayStation or something.
I think it was most things. So I would be very shocked.
Because I got. Well, it's a 2019 TV now, so I'm like, it's a Sony TV. So I'm like, surely.
I would assume. Surely they just chuck on a Disney app that you just download.
Yeah,
I don't know why they wouldn't.
Because I got older apps now. The side note on this whole app thing, I just want to say quickly, is so they're supposed to. I'm not sure when it's coming, and I tried looking up and I can't find much information on it. But I know, like around June or something, Apple talked about and announced that they were going to on a whole bunch of TVs, and it said Sony TVs. Right? They said that they were going to add an app which would let me rent Apple movies directly through my TV. Like through an app, like basically an iTunes store app. So I'm waiting for this to come because when that comes, I think that's a big game changer for a lot of people. I think this is somewhat interesting. So I'll bring it up. At the moment, I have an Apple TV, right? I have an Apple TV 3rd generation. It's not a 4K one, which means that I can't rent 4K movies in any way. If I wanted to rent 4K movies to watch, I would have to upgrade my Apple TV to the 4K model. Those things are like $300, so I haven't done that, obviously, because it's quite expensive. Now, if they add the iTunes app directly to my smart TV now, that means I'll be able to rent 4K movies, which I think is a fucking huge game changer. That would mean I'd suddenly potentially some of this 4K stuff I've brought on disc over the years, I would have maybe just rented it because to watch it that way. But I've never had the option to do so. So I hope this is a thing. This is a thing that affects a lot of people because as easy it is, like if you watch Netflix, there's heaps of 4K content. Amazon has its fair share of 4K content and whatever else. And as more people start buying 4K TVs and stuff, we're getting to a stage now where people are kind of trying to find ways to watch 4K content, obviously. And Netflix is the best place to go. But the thing when it comes to movies, like new release movies, if you don't have an Xbox or go buy like a Blu-ray player, then you can't, like, you have to buy all that shit. You have to buy the discs. And because video stores are dead, you know, it's not like back in the day, I could just walk up, I can't walk up the road anymore. I literally cannot. There's no video stores open in my entire city. There's none left here. Do you have any video stores left?
No, because they have some of the boxes, like the DVD vending
But
machines.
would they rent 4K stuff?
No.
Reckon? Yeah, okay. So
No
that's what I'm
way.
saying. Like this is one of
I'm
those
surprised
big
if
things
they. I'd be surprised if they rent out Blu-rays.
This is a big difference between back in the day when Blu-rays came in and 4Ks, because you could get a Blu-ray player and you could go rent shit. I can't rent 4K fucking movies, so I'm hoping they get this iTunes app on there because they'll be massive. Anyway, there's my Dylan's 4K TV dilemma situation.
Yep. Sort of spinning off the Marvel Disney Plus thing. In a shocker to everybody, Kevin Feige is apparently going to be developing a new movie for Disney, a Star Wars movie, under Kathleen Kennedy. Pretty much, she's said that Kathleen Kennedy is pursuing a new area in Star Wars storytelling, and knowing what a diehard fan Kevin is, it makes sense for these two extraordinary producers to work together on a Star Wars film, Chairman Alan Horn told The Hollywood Reporter. It's cool. Kevin Feige obviously has a tremendous track record. I mean, it's just interesting, obviously, that only a couple of months ago, he apparently was too busy to do another Spider-Man movie. So now he's doing another 2 different movies from this slate of like 50 movies he's currently working on. So also, I guess it shows that we're definitely going to be getting more movies post The Rise of the Skywalker. So how do you feel about this news? Is it going to be the Porg documentary that we all want?
If only. I'm not a big fan of this news, to be honest, because it fuels a fire I don't like getting fueled, which is the Star Wars side of fandom that's like Kathleen Kennedy needs to die and fuck Rian Johnson and blah, 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 Disney ruined Star Wars. All of those people, for whatever reason, although they scream about hating Disney and stuff, they also, for some reason, are all massive Marvel fanboys, which never makes any sense to me. Like, if you look on their Twitter profiles, they're like, fuck Disney, they ruined Star Wars. Iron Man's the best. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, they're all owned by the same fucking company, you tickets. But, so the whole Kevin Feige thing coming, it's nothing against him personally, but like saying that he's going to produce a Star Wars movie is just fuel to that toxic side of fandom for Star Wars.
It's like a conspiracy.
It definitely adds to like the conspiracy theory type stuff, because there's a lot of people out there that basically want Kathleen Kennedy to fuck off, and they're like, get Kevin Feige in to do it, blah, 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 blah. All this sort of stuff, because Kevin Feige is suddenly going to come in and... I don't want the Star Wars movies to become the Marvel Cinematic Universe. As much as I love my canon and interconnected stuff and whatever else, I don't want suddenly Kevin Feige way of making movies and Cinematic Universe. I don't want 4 or 5 Star Wars movies a year. I don't. As much as I love Star Wars, I'm happy. I like this way they're kind of setting it up now with a movie every 2 years or whatever. With TV shows spread out to different sorts of characters and whatever else, and let's start exploring the galaxy a bit more. But I'm sure it'll be good. Whatever. He's only producing it. Tell me who's writing it. Tell me who's directing it. Tell me what the story is. Let's start with that. Like, let's get excited over someone who's producing something. I get more excited if someone's over the idea of a director and a writer than a producer. You know what I'm saying?
Then
like,
at least you've got something
producer.
to grab onto, or like some.
Yeah, I'm like,
of vision.
that director's style would bring something really good to this. Oh, that director writes really good, someone like characters or whatever. But it's like Kevin Feige's producing it. I'm like, he's really good at working with people, bringing people together. He's a really good collaborator. He's
got
whatever
a good
else.
eye for talent.
he's got a good eye for talent, but yeah, okay, well, show me who that talent, his good eye is going to bring in, then I'll start getting more excited. But yeah, at the moment, my intrigue on this news is simply, I would say it's actually negative, simply because whenever I see it on the internet, it's always by people yelling about how great it is because he's finally going to take over Star Wars and blah 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 blah. Fuck Kathleen Kennedy, Disney, Star Wars, blah blah. Yeah, so it's hard for me to be too huffed and puffed about it, really.
In slightly related Star Wars news, they've confirmed that Deborah Chow is going to be directing the entire Obi-Wan Kenobi prequel series. She, of course, is directing directing 2 episodes of the upcoming Mandalorian. She's also done TV work on Better Call Saul, American Gods, Lost in Space, Jessica Jones, Reign, and Mr. Robot. Yeah, so that's cool. Also, confirmation that the show has been written by Hossein Amini, who has previously wrote The Alienist and Drive. So yeah. Does this get you more excited or feel more confident about the future of Obi-Wan, the prequel series, or whatever? If they confirmed a name, I don't know. No,
it's just Obi-Wan, Disney Plus, whatever. So I've seen some of her stuff, obviously American Gods and Better Call Saul, and I was trying to see what else she's done here that I've watched, and I think that's Iron Fist. I've seen that, but she's kind of done the reins. She's working her way up the works here. So ever since 2013-ish or 14-ish or whatever, basically, she's jumped into TV. She's been proven that she's a team player. You know, because that's the thing with TV directors all the time, especially your big TV shows. It's like, if you want to be a TV director, you have to understand that you're not a movie director, and your role is to come in and be like, this is kind of how we shoot the shows. Your creative ability is kind of restrained, obviously, by the show and the tone of the show and so on and so forth. And a lot of time, TV directors have to just know that they have to come in and they have to follow certain restrictions. So she's obviously worked to be a team player, and that's good. That works well at somewhere like Lucasfilm, where, you know, previously we've had problems with team players with who the fuck what was it? Lord Miller fired from Solo, basically, according to reports, because they were not being team players for the Star Wars spirit or something along those words, I guess. So she's proven she can be a team player, and she must have proven that she worked really well with Jon Favreau, whoever else. I guess Jon Favreau would be kind of the final call on this, considering he's the he would have had to give lots of praise for her, considering he's the executive producer over there on that. So he must have had quite high praise for her. I guess Kathleen Kennedy would have been on set. Maybe Deborah Chow got talking with her and they started getting along really well. Maybe Dave Filoni quite liked her and he talked her up as well. You know, like, it definitely feels like you don't get chucked the Obi-Wan series unless a lot of people really was impressed with your work on The Mandalorian, because that has to be where she's impressed everyone. Like, she must have come in and really fucking knocked the Mandalorian episodes out of the park, on top of being also just a great person and like connected like on set with different people that may or may not even be involved with these TV shows, but people who have pull inside Lucasfilm. And I think this is great. Like, and I think the other thing that excites me about this is it means that for the Obi-Wan series, because I think it's probably going to be a shorter one, so maybe only 6 episodes. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's going to be 10 or 12 or anything crazy like that. I think it's probably going to be 6 to 8-ish. Most likely 6 or something probably. And it'll be like a 6-hour movie. And I think the best news about this is that we're going to have one director, one vision, one connective vision for the entire series, which means it'll feel similar for the entire thing. You know, you won't be like, oh, this episode just has a different feel to it because they've got like different directors and all that sort of thing. Yeah. And that works on some TV shows. It's helpful on some TV shows, especially like The Mandalorian, like they're traveling to different planets and whatever else. Maybe one episode's more focused on dialogue, one episode's more focused on action. Maybe they bring in different directors to do different sorts of things. Like Obi-Wan, we can theorize and hope that's probably going to be a deep diving character piece. That's probably what it's going to be. And sure, there's going to be action and Star Wars stuff happening, whatever. But I find it hard to believe it's not going to be this deep dive character piece on the Obi-Wan. You get one director to come in, just hone in on that character, work with Ewan McGregor, someone who can sit down with Ewan McGregor and kind of just like feed him what he needs to know to get him in the mind space for Obi-Wan in this place. And I think just having one director on board to do that is really, really good news. So obviously, with this news, it also means that when the Mandalorian comes out, it's going to be hard not to watch her episodes with, like not judgmental eyes, but like here's the one. She's the lady that's doing the show.
She's the chosen one.
She's the chosen one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good move. Obviously, they're just trying to keep a little bit in-house, I feel like, which is good. Just try to keep the similar people working on different things. And especially with the pool of directors that they used in The Mandalorian, she makes the most sense to work on the next thing. So I feel like a lot of them are onto other projects and that kind of thing. But yeah, that's cool. At least we've got confirmation. It sounds like they're going to be shooting early next year. The sooner we get this Obi-Wan series, the better.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree. So New York Comic Con was this past week, and there was one particular movie that got shown or had a panel there that caught my attention. The War movie, 1917, from Sam Mendes. Yes. So the big reveal is that the movie is going to be one continuous take the whole way through. Being shot by Mendes' frequent collaborator, Roger Deakins. Not much to that. I thought it's interesting that they brought this movie to New York Comic Con, but also they're pushing sort of this technical elements to the forefront of the narrative of this film. I think that do you feel like these sort of advancements in technology or cool artistic chances get you more interested into certain films? Because I feel like there's a few examples of things that obviously this has helped with. Obviously, Avatar was like the first example of like 3D being used properly. The Hobbit was the first film doing like 48 frames per second. Gemini Man, that's coming out this past week, I believe is getting shot in like a really high frame rate as well. So do these sort of technological things get your interest, and do you think the general public cares about? Is it a big enough novelty effect that gets people into cinema?
A movie being shot in one take? I don't think it is. They've done it before. Maybe if people,
a couple,
well,
maybe not this scale, like a full-on war movie.
They haven't shot them. It's still just going to be fake one shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not actually one shot. It's just going to be made to look like it's one shot. And it's like, we've had, the first movie I ever watched like that was Cloverfield. You know? Handycam, running around.
There was maybe a lot of cuts in that.
Yeah, but they make it out like it's not cuts.
No, it's not. It's just like a playback of the videotape.
Yeah, but it's like, oh, there's no cuts because it's all the videotape. And then a lot of the running down the street, they just do cuts when the camera goes past the car and whatever.
Yes, yeah.
I think Hitchcock. I was trying to look it up. I was like, I'm pretty sure
the
Hitchcock
rope.
Thank you. That's it. Yes, the rope is the first one that was ever shot in one take. And the thing with that movie though is that is actually one shot. That is actors just doing a play. So I think that I'm a big fan of continuous shots in movies or TV shows, whatever, in certain scenes, because they really help add to the tone and just because you feel like you're part of it. One of my favorites is, you never watched True Detective, did you?
I watched a few episodes.
Okay. Towards the end of that first season, there is a scene that is one continuous shot, and it is amazing. I remember when I finished watching the episode, I just rewatched the sequence. It's about 10 minutes long or something like that, and it kind of just follows Matthew McConaughey's character going through these series of houses while like all this shit's going down and like sort of a fight scene and all this sort of stuff, and it just really, really, really adds to the tension because with no cuts, your mind just kind of just eases in to what you're watching a bit more. You know what I mean? Like you're not taken out of it. You kind of just feel like you are the camera, I guess. I don't know. Like you kind of tricked into that way. Children of Men also has like this continuous shot thing happening. Long takes in that as well, and that really adds to it. Things like the Daredevil hallway fight scene, you know, that really adds to the impact of that fight scene. By the way, that I only found out this week actually on Corridor when they talked about that fight scene. That first Daredevil fight is actually, I thought it was faked. Like they cut a couple times secretly, but they actually didn't. It's actually all one cut, and I was like, oh, good. There you go. Didn't know that. A war movie being all shot without any cuts, I think they're choosing to do it because of the story, and it matches the story. Like the whole thing of the story in this movie is two kids. One is the brother of someone else who basically they're being told you've got to get over there, and you've got to tell them not to do their attack tomorrow because it's a trap. And if they all charge in 1,500 or whatever it is, soldiers are basically going to be slaughtered under the trap or whatever. So they get ordered by Colin Firth to get to wherever they need to go to warn the troops or whatever. So the movie is going to be this, you assume, rather fast-paced race against time to get over to where his brother is and warn him of the trap. So I think the no cut thing is going to add to the pace of it, you know? I'm really intrigued. I don't think Sam Mendes is like, oh, let's just do this for shits and giggles. I definitely feel like, you know, he's not some up-and-coming 20-year-old director doing something for like the status of it. Yeah, like he's like, no, this suits my story. This is the way we want to do it. I trust it to be good.
Yeah.
I'm really intrigued to see Roger Deakins photograph a movie like this, though.
Yeah, I think obviously he's a legend of the industry, and him to, I guess, do something a bit different, I guess would have been interesting for him as well.
He's so used to he'd be so used to just being like a director telling him like, I want to shoot like this, and like have the camera pan across here, and then him being able to kind of be like, okay, so like understand a shot because it's called a shot for a reason, you know what I mean? Whereas this is, you're not understanding a shot. You got to take into account like, well, we'll do a sneaky cut here, and then we'll set up this other shot, but it's still going to look like one continuous shot because then you kind of, I think it's going to be really interesting to watch this movie.
Yeah. I think it's just something to differentiate them from all other war movies, I guess, which is sort of a genre that's been done constantly throughout the history of
I guess, but it's World War One.
That's true. Know?
That was the thing, because they put out a new trailer during the New York Comic Con, and I watched it. I'm like, this trailer's cool. I watched the original one when it dropped 3 months ago, whenever it was. Yeah. And I was intrigued then because Sam Mendes, he's got Thomas Newman, or the guy who does all his music usually for, like, he worked with him on Spectre and everything. I'm like, cool. Roger Deakins, cool. I'm down. You know, like straight away I was like, World War One to me is probably more intriguing than World War II movies at this stage, because I'm like, I've seen lots of those. Yeah. And if this was a World War II movie, it would have been really hard not to be like, okay, is it like Dunkirk, like came out like 2 years ago? A bit closer to that, I guess.
Would have been a bit more difficult to, but yeah, that's coming out this Christmas. Yeah. 19. Yep, well, I think
one for all the family.
Here. It might be further back for us. I'm not sure.
One for the whole family to go to. Well, it says 25th of December for USA. It does not have an Australian one that I can see here, so
that's not great. Yeah. So there's kind of an interesting story I just want to read through from IndieWire, pretty much covering sort of an aspect of the industry you probably wouldn't think too much about. So Distributor, a service that acts as a middleman between independent filmmakers and streaming platforms, has tapped a firm that specializes in bankruptcy reorganization, as clients say they're owed thousands in royalty payments they worried that they might never see. Aggregators like Distributor receive filmmakers' work and for a fee will encode and post it on multiple platforms for streaming, rental, or purchase, then collect the revenue and cut the checks. In theory, anyway. In December, director Todd Jenkins used the service to send his horror comedy, Cherokee Creek, to iTunes, Amazon, Vudu, and Google Play. He went on to collect about $2,150 for the first few days that remained in the final quarter of 2018, but he hasn't received a dime for 2019 sales. Distributor, which recently stopped accepting new orders, kept users abreast of sales through an online dashboard. They have no access to direct information from the sales platforms. The last completed quarterly report Jenkins received was for the first quarter of 2018, which he said he would be getting around $10,000. He expects his cut for subsequent quarters to bring that total to $14,000. It's got to the point where I couldn't reach them at all. He said a producer who was on the project was in LA, went by their office in August. He said nobody was there. That's when the alarm bells really went off. So this is kind of apparently Distrib is like one of these aggregators that gets these smaller films, the ones that if you go to Just Watch and look at Amazon Prime's latest offerings, you see a bunch of like not great looking, low rent, middle of the road films getting thrown onto the service constantly. That's the service that puts it on there, onto Google Play, onto all the other smaller services. Apparently, this is people that have been putting their own savings into it. Jenkins and his wife used loans and credit cards to finance some of the production and marketing of Cherokee Creek, which cost about $40,000. He built up a fan base that he knew would buy or rent his movie, and all seemed to be well when it was number 2 in the genre on iTunes. But then distributor failed to send the royalties. So it seems like there's several hundreds and thousands of, well, at least a couple hundred people who seem to be, who at least were involved in like a Facebook group that were discussing their problems with distributor. So yeah, it's interesting. I never thought of who would be the people like putting these indie movies, the movies that get sent to film festivals hoping to get distribution and then sort of have to self-distribute. That there has to be this in-between company that puts them on iTunes and puts them on Google Play, onto Netflix and that kind of thing. It wouldn't just be a direct connection between the creatives and or the producers and like the distributor or the streaming service. I know, yeah. It was just an interesting story, and to see so many films like not get any funding, any of their money that they've earned back. It's pretty disheartening, I think.
Oh, does that mean that like all your big like film publishers or whatever, they must get like approved by iTunes? I guess like maybe you can't just like easily apply to be you can't easily just make an account to upload stuff to iTunes. So you must have to get approved by iTunes or Apple or whatever. So you must have to email them or whatever, and they check you off. So then it makes you wonder, like, did they not look dodgy at all, or were they like legit at the start, and then they just went dodgy at the end?
Yeah, I feel like it sounds like they've mismanaged funds and that kind of thing, which I don't know how you do. I mean, it seems like it'd be a pretty simple process unless people are skimming stuff or.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, we don't know much about it, so it could be speaking out of our asses, but it seems like obviously if you need to get approved and you need to be like, I don't know what, like, so they can't just stop random old people just signing up and uploading shit, I guess. Like, so they get approved, so then their service, automatically they can be like iTunes publishers. It's like, that's cool. Then they reach out to people and say like, we'll publish your movie and we'll take like 2%. 1%?
Yeah.
Whatever. Like, I guess that's how they make their money. But then it's like, well, how much is it really costing you to do that service to the point that you could mismanage money so much and just take off with $10,000? I don't understand how you can.
That's off one person, so that's
exactly off one. Yeah, but how can you mismanage that badly for a service that wouldn't cost you much, if anything?
It seems like it's just perform? A bunch of. In my mind, it's just one person in front of a computer just typing in.
Yeah.
Typing in data, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. It's interesting, I guess.
It's an odd element to the industry I hadn't thought of before, so yeah, to see that. It's bad. All right, that's sort of it for the film news for this week. Dylan, what did we end up watching?
We watched Alien.
Seems we have intercepted a transmission of unknown origin.
Human.
Unknown.
Can you see this?
I've never seen anything like it.
What the hell is that?
How do we kill it?
You can't.
Yes, Alien, the 1979 film by Ridley Scott, starring Tom Skerritt, Sigourney Weaver, Veronica Cartwright, Harry Dean Stanton, John Hurt, Ian Holm, and Yaphet Kotto. After a space merchant vessel perceives an unknown transmission as a distress call. Its landing on a source moon finds some of the crew attacked by a mysterious life form, and they soon realize that its life cycle has merely begun. Dylan, you had to pick this episode's... Why'd you pick Alien?
So I picked Alien because I listened to this Audible book. I was like, I should find the name. Like, open up my phone real quickly and find it. It's called Alien Out of the Shadows. Was this? They had it available for free. It's like 10 half-hour episodes. It's a full audio dramatization based on a novel. So it's not like a reading. It's a full, like audio drama thing of it. And they've done it for the other 2 books that are part of the trilogy. But nonetheless, they gave away the first one for free, so I was like, oh, sure, I'll download it, give it a go. I really, really enjoyed it. And then because that book is set between the first and second movie, it really made me want to go back and listen to, watch the first movie again, because Ripley in that audio drama is always like, like, there's some fucked up shit I went through, man. Like, like, what? Fucking aliens, man. They're crazy. Keep them away from me and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I really want to go watch Alien because it's been, probably, I don't know, 4 years, 5 years since I watched Alien last, I think. So, felt like going back, and that's how we ended up here, because I just really wanted to watch Alien, and I was nearly going to watch it by myself, but then I was like, oh, I should keep it for my pick so I can make Ash watch it. So that's how we ended up picking it. Do you want to go first? Or do you want me to
Yeah.
Because I can't want to know if you liked it or not.
I did like it. Obviously, I feel like, first time I've seen it, I feel like a lot of elements already knew going in, just through pop culture and being online. A certain number of moments already set. I think the set design is pretty incredible for the time. Sigourney Weaver's great. A lot of the actors are really good. I did not see the Ash reveal coming.
Oh, shit.
Somehow that was a completely... No,
I
didn't.
know.
No, that one was a shocking surprise. So that was really cool. But obviously everything involving the alien was pretty well known. I know about the facehuggers. I knew about the chestburster, that kind of thing.
Chestburster is pretty famously ripped off at this point, parried and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I don't think it didn't. I feel like probably at the time it was more jump scary than it felt now, whether just the reveal of the alien each time it didn't freak me out or anything. So, well, that's not true. There's that last moment where he's hiding in the ship that got me, but other than that, yeah, I enjoyed it overall.
It's all time one of the greatest movies of all time, as far as I'm concerned. It's just like an ultimate classic of, as you said, like from the moment the movie starts, it just does this 2-minute thing of kind of just drawing you into the movie. Just the camera just going around, like the music playing, just drawing you into the world you're about to enter, just showing you this, the Nostromo and the ship and the very whiteness, like that's the thing that always stands out from the Alien franchise and its ships, the very like white interior design and that sort of stuff, it's like ready to be covered in blood, I guess, like is what it is. Acting is absolutely fantastic. And then I think it was the first, I can't think of anything else that's like, it basically created its own sort of genre. I don't know, like, because it's a combination of genres, obviously. I kind of wish more movies were made like this today, because it's like, it's a horror movie, and when it comes down to it, it's like the last half of this movie is like a slasher. It's you could replace the alien with Jason or whatever. And they took Jason to space in Jason X, so they did that. But it's kind of like the alien's just like this creature just hunting people, like Jason or whoever would in like a normal horror movie. They're kind of chasing him down to kill them. But the movie, just with the sci-fi front, it just dives into that stuff, and it goes into introduces you to this really interesting world and concepts, and it says all this stuff that they never fully explore in the first film about the the mining company and all this stuff. So it makes you wonder like what Earth is like if you would ever see Earth in this universe, and like what's like androids. You're like, oh, androids exist. What's There are heaps of those running around Earth, all these sorts of things, and whatever else. It's like we've gone so far to bring androids to life, and then they discover this other alien life. They're not shocked when they discover the dead alien in the ship, which is always interesting, I always think, because they're like, oh, it's an alien. They're not like, oh, we found our first alien life form. They find that alien, and they're like, oh, there's an alien here. They're dead. No problem. So it's always like, well, how discovered is alien life in this point? How far are they willing to go to get back this other one? But yeah, the movie is just like a masterclass of. It's just everyone acts so well. It's shot fantastically. It's absolutely. By the way, the other thing I have to note this because obviously I brought it. But when I was like, oh, we're picking this movie, and I looked online because I knew they released the 4K version of this movie like 2 months ago, and I saw they had it for $20 at Sandy. So I was like, oh yes, half price, baby. So I went and picked up the 4K to watch it for this rewatch. The 4K version is really, really good. It adds, it looks quite good. But I think it's the HDR that just in some of the darker scenes, for subtle things like there's that really big shot of the ship when they first arrive on the planet, and then you can see them like walking off their distance with their lights, and just like this is why HDR does good things. It just makes the light stand out so much better against the darkness. And this movie has a lot of stuff like that, very subtle, but I was like, oh, I'm quite enjoying what they're doing with this. I don't know. Alien's a classic. That's my background. Do you want to watch Aliens now, or what? You going? We watching Aliens next
I'm in
week?
no rush.
Do you want to watch Aliens next week? Okay. I'll say
Maybe in a year.
If you made it through this, Aliens is going to be no problem because if Alien is like a horror movie, Aliens is like a thriller action movie. You know, like Aliens Aliens isn't a horror movie to me. It's more of a thriller. It's got way more action scenes and more characters and whatever. Because the characters she bumps into in the second one, spoilers, are like more like army. That's where you get into like the colonial marines aspect of it. It's like kind of introduced, which then of course they were turning into video games and whatever else. So
yeah,
get guns that time. Whereas all the characters in the first movie are scientists and engineers, and you know they're not army people trained to take down an alien creature. There's also just like the design. It's like one of the most well-designed creatures of all time, I think. Like, you see Alien anywhere. Well, don't give me that face. Tell me you don't see a poster of Alien.
The alien like itself is not incredible.
What?
I think it's just the teeth.
No.
That kind of gets
everything. It's the shape
the
of
silver
the head,
teeth.
everything.
Looks like it's wearing grills.
Oh my god! What? Its first teeth? What do you mean? Its mouth? Its mouth inside its mouth.
Yeah, it's got like silver teeth.
Yeah, I like how. No, come on! It's the whole shape of the head and everything. Its silhouette could be picked out from a. If you saw its silhouette drawn somewhere, you'd be like, "That's Alien." You just know.
Yeah. I feel like it's probably been improved since obviously they had limitations when they first did it. I feel like
this is a guy
seeing the alien in like the Alien Covenant trailers and that kind of thing, they look freaking scary. So
they're CGI, and this is a 7-foot dude.
Practical. Yeah, in a practical suit, yeah. So there's a bit of difference. But yeah, doing the effects for like the chest burster, how they pulled that off would have been, I'm sure there's interesting behind the scenes effects videos into that. How they did Ash's head.
Yeah, there's I haven't watched it yet. I was about to try and find out the date for it if I type it in here. There's a movie that came out this year, a documentary. It's called Memory: The Origins of Alien. Comes out on the 4th of October, it says. So apparently out now. The untold origin story behind Ridley Scott's Alien. Blah, 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 blah. So that's a documentary that's well timed for this episode of What Do You Want to Watch, apparently. I don't know where you can watch it. I don't know if it was a cinema thing or whatever. I have to look into it. I do want to watch it nonetheless because I think it'll be quite interesting.
All right. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to mention about Alien?
Great music.
Yeah.
Great set design. Great costume. Great acting. Great script. Great sense of direction. Great movie.
Here's a question. Did Ash know about the alien creature before he let them in? Like, did he get to... What's the whole thing with Mother? That's the whole thing that is never fully explained.
I think that you're just going to have to watch the rest of the Alien movies, and then we can dive into the Alien lore. And then you can watch Alien vs. Predator, and then you can watch... No, they're very shit, but we'll just watch them all. And Covenant,
Alien Explosion coming soon.
Prometheus. Okay, to put in the context now, because you haven't watched any of these movies. Have you seen the trailer for Prometheus, or no, like the general, like...
Yeah, kind of.
So, not to spoil the entirety of Prometheus, because we're going to be watching it for Alien Explosion, but they, so the space astronaut alien that they find inside the ship in this movie,
Yeah.
Prometheus is about how that gets there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, okay. All right, that's the end of this episode of What Do You Want to Watch? Dylan, where can people find you on Twitter and on Trakt.tv, the best movie, TV tracking website that hasn't sponsored us yet?
I was going to say, have they sponsored us? You're suddenly adding on a bit about how they're the best. You can follow me on all the things at Vivaldil, Vivaladil.
And you can follow me those places at Ashley Hobley, ASHLEYHOBLEY. You can follow the Explosion Network at ExplosionPod on Twitter. You can go to youtube.com/Explosion Network to check out that Joker review discussion, or go to explosionnetwork.com. Check out my review of Joker there. You can go talk to us over at explosionnetwork.com/Discord, or you can send us an email at mail@explosionnetwork.com. If you want to help us out, leave us a review either on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser, or just tweet us something nice. Tell them, or if you want to really help us out, tell people about the show. Tell them that Alien Explosion is definitely a thing that is coming. It might just be a mini segment in the show. I think that I don't think we'll do a whole... artwork is like a real pain, setting up a whole new page on the website, but
People don't understand how hard making podcasts is.
Making podcasts is difficult. That's why we're only limiting ourselves to like 6 or 7 a week. Because it's really difficult. All right. Thank you very much for listening. And until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.
Every Saturday, listen to a brand new episode of Arcade Couch, the Explosion Network's variety video game podcast. Sit back, relax on the best couch to chill with your friends and hear about the latest industry news, as well as our opinions on the latest releases and what we've been playing. Just search your podcasting app for Arcade Couch and subscribe for free now. Like now. Do it. No, it's not difficult. Making up catchphrases to end a podcast.
No, that is very difficult.
Just say one thing in one episode and then keep saying it.
You just need to nail it the first time, which is not easy.